Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope everyone had a good weekend. Today's story and our lesson for this week is based on this book, President Taft is Stuck in the Bath. It's by Mac Barnett and illustrated by Chris Van Dusen. President Taft is stuck in the bath. William Howard Taft was the 27th President of the United States. He busted monopolies, instituted the federal income tax, and became the only president to also serve as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But today, President Taft is stuck in his bathtub. "Blast," said Taft, "this could be bad." He squeezed and he shimmied, he hefted and stretched, he gripped the rim of the tub and attempted to lift himself, but it was no use. President Taft was stuck in the bath. Taft took a deep breath and tugged his mustache. "Think, Taft," said Taft. "Use that big noggin and cook up a plan." 2 hours passed. The water got cold, and President Taft was still stuck in the bath. "I hope," said Taft, "that nobody notices I am missing." Someone knocked on the door. "Double blast," said Taft. "Blast and drat." "Willie?" Oh dear, it was Taft's wife, the First Lady of the United States of America. "You've been in there a while. Is everything fine?" Taft splashed in the bath. "Yes, Nellie," he said, "I'm just scrubbing my back." "I see," Nellie said. "Are you really quite sure?" "Oh, blast," shouted Taft. "Why can't a man have a nice quiet bath?" Nellie said, "Sorry, Willie." She sniffed. Taft felt bad. "My love," said Taft, "I am stuck in the bath." "So you are," said Nellie. She thought, "Well, perhaps—" "It's a disaster," said Taft. "Yes, but perhaps—" "Blast, perhaps," shouted Taft. "We need action, a plan. Please, be a sweetie and call the Vice President." The Vice President came and stood by the tub. "Well, Jim," said Taft, "I'm stuck in the bath." "I see," said the VP. "Well, you've called the right man. I am ready to be sworn in as President of the United States of America." "Blast that," bellowed Taft. "A preposterous plan." "Perhaps," said the First Lady. "Call the Secretary of State," shouted President Taft. "Mr. Secretary," said Taft, "I'm stuck in the bath." "Indeed," said the Secretary of State. "Let me put this diplomatically. A man of great stature need not be of great girth, and so—" "Blast, man," shouted Taft. "Are you calling me fat?" "No, sir." The Secretary of State was taken aback. "But certainly a diet combined with calisthenics—" "Blast diet," said Taft. "I need something fast." "Should we swear me in as president now?" said the Vice President. "Call the Secretary of Agriculture," shouted President Taft. "Mr. Secretary," said Taft, "I'm stuck in the bath." Said the Secretary. "A huge vat of butter should do the trick. We'll have 50 farmers milk 50 cows. If Congress spends the night churning, we should have enough. We'll grease up your sides and the sides of the tub. Then it will be easy. You'll slide right out." "Blast butter," said Taft. "As soon as I'm out, I'll just need another bath." "Perhaps," said the First Lady. "Call the Secretary of War," shouted President Taft. "Mr. Secretary," said Taft, "I'm stuck in the bath." "Yes," said the Secretary, "we'll soon see to that." "With what?" Taft asked. "Dynamite." Taft was aghast. "We'll just need a few sticks of TNT and a rather long fuse, and boom, you'll be free. We'll blast this old tub into smithereens." "Blast blasting," said Taft. "That's dangerous, man." "You'd be wearing a helmet," said the Secretary of War. "No," shouted Taft. "Don't you think President James Schoolcraft Sherman sounds catchy?" said the vice president. "No," shouted Taft. "Perhaps," said the first lady. "Call the secretaries of the Navy, Treasury, and Interior," shouted President Taft. "Send deep-sea divers into the tub," shouted the Secretary of the Navy. "Throw money at the problem," said the Secretary of the Treasury. "The answer is inside you," said the Secretary of the Interior. "Blast that, and that," shouted President Taft. "It is clear I am unfit for office. A president cannot govern while stuck in a bath. Am I to be carried around this great nation in a tub, borne aloft on the backs of 6 young men like a princeling from antiquity?" "No," bellowed Taft. "It is un-American." Taft waved his right hand. "Fetch the Chief Justice. I will resign. Let's swear Sherman in." "Wait," said the First Lady. "Let's not be rash. There are 8 of us in here. Perhaps if we stopped using our brains and just use our arms, we could just pull Willie out from the tub." It was a pretty good plan. And so those 8 great minds rolled up their sleeves and they yanked and they tugged. At first, Taft would not budge, but then came a squeak and a slap and a snap, and just like that, President Taft flew from the bath. There were many glad cries. Taft kissed his wife. A celebration ensued, and someone called in a band. There was dancing and snacks. The Secretary of State raised his glass. "A toast," he said, "to President Taft. Worry not, great man. 100 years from now, no one will recall that you were stuck in the bath. Our grandchildren's grandchildren will read of your many great feats." The crowd broke into applause. "Speech! Speech!" they all said. The band stopped. Taft cleared his throat. Those gathered were rapt. "Would someone hand me a robe?" he asked. And that's that. The end. But there is an author's note back here, and I'm going to share some of it with you. So an author's note is at the back of the book, and it's when an author wants to add a little bit more information. And the author wants to share what we know about this story. This has been a story that's been around. Anytime you read anything about President Taft, you read something about his bathtub, but nobody quite knows for sure if it's correct. So here's a picture of Taft's White House tub, which was custom built for the president. And this is what Mac Barnett says. "Some people say President Taft got stuck in his bath on March 4th, 1909, his inauguration day. Others say it happened later in his term. Depending on who's talking, it took 2 men to pry out the president, or 4 men, or 4 men plus a gallon of lollipolly, which is butter mixed with lobster liver. Of course, many say that Taft never got stuck at all. What follows is what we know for certain." So these are facts. I'll share a couple of them. So we know that President Taft, when he took office, he had the White House bathtub removed and replaced it with a tub that was 7 feet long and 3.5 feet wide. We also know that in 1910, Taft had a giant tub put on his private yacht, the Mayflower, and then later he had it moved to another battleship, the USS Arkansas. And we also know that there was at least one more huge tub, 8 feet by 4 feet, commissioned for the president's suite in 1913 at the Hotel Taft. So, did President Taft actually get stuck in the bath? Maybe, maybe not. But more than a century later, this is the story we're still telling. And to people like me, that's all that matters. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story. So today or this week, I have a few different options for activities. You can either write out a step-by-step plan on how you would get President Taft unstuck from the bath, or you could draw a picture of your plan to get President Taft unstuck from the bath, Or if you have Legos or building blocks or anything in your house, you can build some kind of tool or some kind of structure that would help President Taft with his problem of being stuck in the bath. Email me, tell me how you're doing, share on Flipgrid. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have a great week. Bye, everybody.